On November 5th, Americans will go to the polls and elect a new president, vice president, and members of Congress. They'll also elect members of the various state legislatures across the country. All of those races are naturally attracting the headlines and attention on social media, especially now that there's such a contrast between the two presidential candidates, former president and convicted felon Donald Trump, and Vice President Kamala Harris, a prosecutor. When we go to the polls, most of us will also be voting for members of school boards in thousands of communities. And those elections are incredibly important because those boards are where the decisions are made regarding policies that will guide the education of our youth, who, after all, are the future of our country. So it's essential that voters inform themselves about school board candidates. What's their background, their experience, their education? Have they ever taught school? Do they have any educational experience at all, administrative or otherwise? We have with us today Michelle Green, a school board candidate in Horry County, South Carolina, the home of the popular tourist destination, Myrtle Beach. We're talking with her because if elected, she would be one of the few school board members in her area that actually have experience in education. She's a 30-year veteran of Horry County Schools, having served as teacher, principal, human resources director, and in many other capacities. She's a product of Horry County Schools herself, understands the needs of the county, and is passionate about serving her community and its students. Michelle, welcome to our podcast.
Hello, and thank you for having me today.
You're welcome. I'm happy to have you on the show. So tell me, Michelle, why are you running for the school board?
I don't know if we have enough time to cover it all, but I will start.
Let's give it a shot.
Let's start with the obvious.
Okay.
Actually, I am a native of Horry County, and I feel very passionate about my community, its future, and what we offer our children. The number one reason, though, that led me to throw my name in the hat was something you mentioned earlier, which is the lack of influence and education and experience on our board.
Okay.
As in South Carolina, we ranked 42 in the national ranking for our performance academically. That saddens me as a South Carolinian.
Yeah.
And then more specifically in Horry County, our students have been on a steady decline academically. And while I know every child won't go to college, I believe that every child deserves the opportunity to go as far as they want to go in their academic future. So for me, I actually believe that probably many members of our board, if not all of our board, have a desire to make our communities better. But I'm going to say something that I've used more than one time before. If I need surgery, I'm going to seek a surgeon to perform that surgery. I am not going to seek my hairdresser as much as I love her, appreciate her, and need her.
She does a good job.
Thank you. And I'll make sure she knows that. But I want it to be about it instead of just talk about it. As a principal in Horry County Schools, many times I'd sit in my office and go, do those people up there know what they're doing? The largest majority of our school board, of the 12 members, are real estate agents. And I absolutely believe that they're very intelligent people, but they don't know curriculum. They don't know instruction. They don't know what's developmentally appropriate for children. They don't know what teachers prioritize as their needs.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can bring that to the board, and I feel that it's desperately needed on our board.
Okay. What do you see as the major challenges in education today, Michelle? Not just here locally in Horry County, South Carolina, but if you could broaden your scope a little bit and just think about nationally, what are we facing? What are the difficult challenges in education today?
We have many, but I'll start with elaborating on what I just spoke about at our local level, where we have a board that is not made up of educators. In fact, there aren't any educators on our 12-man team right now. Wow. And I absolutely believe in diversity on the board. We need all walks of life on the board. But speaking beyond Horry County, our state superintendent of education does not hold an education degree at all. Wow. She's never worked in a school at all.
Wow.
And she received her master's degree in 6 months online And because it was a requirement to hold office to have a master's degree. I said all that to say, I think one of the biggest challenges we face in education is that we're putting people in positions to make decisions that they're not qualified to make.
Yeah.
I believe we need to make sure that the people we are putting in these positions are equipped with the tools to make the right decisions. And then going beyond the South Carolina State Superintendent, we know during the presidency of Trump,
Mm-hmm.
his superintendent, if you will, or at the education department, Ms. DeVos, she didn't have a background in education as well at the federal level. So every level from local all the way up to federal, our Secretary of Education did not have any background in education. I don't understand how we can expect our education system to continue to thrive, grow, and be productive when we have people in roles that they're not really qualified to hold.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I do believe that beyond the challenges of social media and bullying and social and emotional and all of that, you couple that with people who don't know how children best learn, best practices. They know about running corporate businesses, but school is not a business. It's a very different animal.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You brought up Trump a minute ago, and he is trying to run away from Project 2025 while he's also embracing Project 2025. And Project 2025 includes a provision that would get rid of the Department of Education. Now, what do you think about that?
I think that would be a huge mistake. There are a lot of things in that Project 2025 that scare me as an educator as to taking us to a place that I don't know that we've ever been. Some people say it's taken us back. I don't know that we've ever been that far back in education. I've been in education now almost 31 years, and I've not seen the depths of what that proposal will do to our system. When there's no accountability or no governing body. I used to have a superintendent once that I respect greatly, and she said, what gets measured gets done. And I think this novel idea of choice and putting money in the hands of parents, allowing them to make the best decisions with it, I think you have some very capable parents, and then I think you have some parents that it would really scare me for their child's education to have that kind of authority.
Okay. That brings me to the question of using public money for private schools and parochial schools.
I am absolutely pro-school. I do also believe that parents have the right to make decisions about their child's education. As a public school principal for many years, I had many families that I welcomed into public school for the very first time from private institutions. I also have worked with private institutions to try to facilitate that transition, as well as participate in IEP meetings for students that were coming from the private school into the public sector. So I do believe that they have a place. I don't, however, believe in the idea or theory of the voucher system to allow parents to take their money with the child, because I really believe that at the same time, that may be beneficial for that small sector of people who don't take advantage of the public school system. What the reality is the children who need it most will suffer most. The most disenfranchised students, the students who don't have anyone, because once that money leaves the public school, then the public school can't do best what it needs to do.
Yeah, there's lots of challenges. One of them also in many areas around the country has to do with parents demanding that various books be banned in school libraries. What are your thoughts about that, Michelle?
That's a real scary concept to me as well. I work in a district that has a book banning procedure and process, and I work in a district that bans some books. And my thoughts on that are, I think that we have gone too far, because oftentimes literature is, where then is our freedom of speech? Where then is the craft of writing? Where then is different perspectives? It almost makes me think that we want to create a system that only fits what we believe it ought to be, when the reality is a part of what makes us America is choice.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that we have books in school systems that are negatively impacting students and
Mhm.
traumatizing students. If
Mhm.
that were be so, you and I probably would be one of those victims
Yeah,
because
probably
books
so.
were there when we went to school.
Yeah.
So I do believe that we've gone too far. We absolutely have gone too far, and we've forgotten what the purpose of good literature.
Yeah.
Whether it's your preference or not is a very different thing.
Yeah. Don't you think that a lot of this is just scare tactics on the part of certain segment of the political spectrum?
I
Uh,
absolutely believe that.
yeah. And it's been, the flames of that have been fanned by Trump. We just have to admit that. You agree?
I agree
Yeah.
100%. And even looking at, when you look at that big old document of over 900 pages,
Yeah.
in there are also guidelines that want to harness what's on our stations that house educational TV.
Hmm.
And they want to govern that more strictly and to create a wholesome environment on those shows, to
Hmm.
not depict anything that doesn't represent the conservative mindset.
Yeah.
And so when you look at PBS and those television broadcast networks that house educational TV for children,
Hmm.
it just scares me, because it scares me who's in charge of governing what's appropriate.
Yeah. Okay.
Where's the parent's choice? What happened to, if I don't like what they're saying on TV, I turn it off,
Yeah.
but I don't
Right.
deny access to others who might appreciate it?
Yeah, that's right. Because the way this is going, a small segment of parents insist that certain books, whether they're dealing with race issues, racial issues, or LGBTQ plus issues, any of that, they don't want those books available for their kids. But banning them means that no kids can have access to those books. That's not right.
Correct. And you know what I'll say on that? I'm a Christian and I try to follow those guidelines. And if we go in accordance to that conservative nature that they profess to be, the
Uh-huh.
reality is we have a choice. God doesn't just make us all be Christians, we get to decide if we want to be.
Yeah.
So if God is that governing person, or he governs the universe and he gives us a choice, why should they be taking away our choices as parents and as citizens because
Yeah.
they don't like the agenda?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. There's another issue that is just so important, and that has to do with school safety and these school shootings that are taking place, scaring the living, you know what, out of kids and teachers and parents, and causing horrible tragedy in certain areas. What actions do you think that schools should take to make schools safer?
I absolutely believe it really goes back for me, the statements we talked about earlier, which is putting qualified people in positions to make decisions. I think that's an area that we could benefit from not allowing educators to decide in.
Okay.
We're trained professionally and have the experience to deal with children, but
Okay.
the systems that deal with safety is not our wheelhouse. I
Right.
believe we need to add people at high levels within our school districts that have the background for safety and security, and that they can provide options for us, the most advanced options for us to ensure our children are safe. I was a principal, and that was one of my primary roles, is ensuring that everyone in our buildings was safe at all times. And
Hmm.
there were times within my career that I felt overwhelmed by that,
Sure.
because I knew what I would do as a mom, as a parent, as an educator. I knew what to do socially and emotionally to help children through some challenging fears, because school anxiety is at an all-time high as a result of all of these shootings and what's going on in our country today. I know how to help children with that, but
Yeah.
I didn't know, whenever we had a bid out for our safety and security systems
Hmm.
that would be purchased, and they had principals on the panel to listen to what all of those avenues had to offer. And
Right.
we were deciding what we thought fit best in our school. I absolutely think principals needed to be at the table, but I think people of the nature of safety and security need to
Mhm.
be at the table talking about, okay, let us see how we can merge how school needs to operate. At the
Mhm.
same time, we can look at what are the most safe measures. I don't
Okay.
know that we have the right people at the table making decisions about how best to protect our kids. I think that it's an important enough issue that we need to go beyond educators and beyond people who serve on our school board, perhaps,
Right.
who, like, school board also was at the table determining which one of these systems that we would purchase as a district, because as we had a gun in our school district
Yeah.
last year, and it made national news, and it was a very scary time, and we were fortunate,
Yep.
unlike so many, we were fortunate
Yep.
that we didn't have a tragedy. I do just believe that we need more help from people who specialized in keeping people safe. And
Okay.
I don't know that we have that. And I don't know that we recognize that we need that yet.
Some politicians call for teachers to be armed in the classroom. What do you think about that?
I think that's horrendous. I think that is awful. I think that is unsafe. I think we'll create more problems than we want to, than we can handle, truthfully. Because here's the thing, especially me, I was a primary school principal my last 15
Okay.
years of a principalship. It
Uh-huh.
was a room full of 5, 6, and 7-year-olds in the classrooms, and they're fast, they're quick.
Yeah.
You've got a person who needs to be focused on their teaching. I can't tell you how many times children just put their hands on you and touch their earrings, or they touch you, or they nuzzle up against you. There are too many opportunities for that to go wrong. I think
Okay.
that perhaps the goal is to provide a more safe environment, but I think we had about 45 classrooms. That is a lot of risk that we would take every day to have people walking around with a firearm attached to them.
Yeah, I agree. Especially people who have not really been trained to handle firearms.
And that's what I was alluding to with, we've got people making decisions who don't know about what could go wrong with that.
Yeah. I was just wondering, you were a teacher yourself for how many years?
I taught for 11 years.
For 11 years. All right. So you taught what? You taught little
Uh,
kids?
Little kids, well,
Little kids.
third, fifth, and seventh.
Okay. All right. So put yourself in that position. The school board decides that all teachers will carry a weapon, and they announce to you that it's time for you to come and pick up your gun. And oh, by the way, we're going to take you out to this firing range and give you some lessons on how to handle this gun. But your job is to use this gun to in case somebody comes in and attacks your school. What do you do?
They're going to fire me because I'm protesting, and I'm not letting any person bring one into my school. I'm standing at the doors myself saying no. They're
Good.
going to fire me because that's not, because here's the other thing. Look at teenagers, even like the little ones, they might be curious. But
Yeah.
what about a teenager who overpowers a teacher who's too frail to handle them and
Yeah.
takes their gun and shoot up the classroom?
Yeah, there you
Absurd.
go.
That's
Absolutely.
absurd.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And what
Absolutely.
about a teacher who comes
Absolutely
in with
crazy.
too much weight on her shoulders and she just goes berserk, or he just goes berserk that day, and he
Yeah.
has access to do a lot of damage?
Yeah.
That's absurd.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Now let's talk a little politics. Here in Horry County, it's very Republican. You're a Democrat. What are your chances in this election, do you think, against your male Republican opponent?
I will tell you what I believe. I will also tell you what folks believe. Tell me that I can't win, but I am not of that belief or persuasion. I believe that people are ready to make sensible decisions.
Hmm.
I believe people are ready to put their children before their party.
Yeah.
Um, I believe that people are looking for change because they see how radical it's gotten.
Okay.
And so I believe I have a good chance. I believe it's going to be a difficult chance. Um,
Hmm.
I have been driving my little car all over Horry County, talking to people, meeting with people. But now also, I believe I have an advantage In my career, I've served over 16,000 students in the last 30 plus years in
Wow.
education.
Wow.
And they all have parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles who are going to say, oh, I remember her. In fact, some of my strongest supporters on Facebook are parents who know what I can and have done for our community and their children. So I believe that while it is a very real challenge,
Hmm.
be in a red state, real
Hmm.
red area.
Hmm.
In fact, I had a couple of campaign managers who declined to support me or assist me because they didn't believe I could win. And I
Right.
believe on November 5th, I'm going to prove them all wrong because I believe parents want better for their children than what they see available.
Okay. Now, do you feel like school board candidates should have to declare their party affiliation? That's not the case in all states.
Absolutely not. In fact, 93% of the school board races in the United States do not declare a party. There
Okay.
are only 4 states in the United States that require you to declare a party.
Uh-huh.
And then there are 5 states in the United States that make it optional. South
Hmm.
Carolina is a state that makes it optional.
Okay.
And of the 68 districts, only 2 in South Carolina require you to declare a party, and Horry County is one of them. So to me, I think that goes to your question of, do I have a chance? I
Hmm.
think the mere fact that people recognize, lots of people recognize that this is less about a party issue and more about the person who can do what's best for children.
Hmm.
The issues that we face aren't party nature.
Yeah.
They're academic, they're resources. And so I absolutely believe that is a system that we need to readdress, and because it's not as important as the person who holds the position. Now, I don't believe every person on the school board should be an educator, because
Right.
then we go back to that reverse process of we've got people making decisions about our school safety that maybe don't have equipped knowledge and experience to do
Right.
so. If
Right.
we put only educators on the school board, they're just going to all be bleeding hearts working for kids
Yeah.
and not necessarily doing what's best in the whole community broad spectrum
Right.
of
Right.
securing building school, the business operating part of it. So I do
Sure.
believe boards should be diverse, but you cannot have a board governing a body that has no experience in what they govern.
As part of your background in education, you were the human resources director for Horry County Schools, and you were responsible for recruiting and hiring teachers, among other things. Today, we're seeing many teachers leave their jobs for many reasons. What can be done in similar communities, do you think, to attract and retain qualified teachers?
A lot of people focus on the financial aspects and teacher salary, and
Yeah,
I believe that is very important. I believe people should be paid or compensated for the job that they do and the level of responsibility they hold in that position.
sure.
And so I do believe that's important, but I don't believe it to be the most important. I believe jobs in South Carolina and Horry County is one of the higher paying of some of the areas around us.
Hmm.
But still, yet we are challenged to maintain or retain teachers. I think we've got to do more to provide support for teachers. We cannot continue to put things on their plate without taking some things off. Just to
Hmm.
go back to the safety measures that you spoke about,
Right,
we have teachers manning the morning early arrivals and searching bags
right.
and scanning students in. That's
Uh,
not what a teacher is trained to do, nor is it what they signed up to do. So I
right,
really feel like we're putting things on teachers' plate that don't belong there. And
right.
as a result, it becomes overwhelming because they feel like they can't do the thing that they signed up for well.
Hmm.
So they seek other avenues of fulfillment because these things take precedent over what I've signed up for. So I really
Okay.
believe in order for us to retain teachers in our profession, recruit teachers to our profession, and value teachers in the way that we need to, we've got to first look at what we're asking them to do. Second, respect their training, experience, knowledge, professionalism to do it, and provide them avenues to be successful with what they've been trained to do, and that's to take care of children, teach children, encourage children. So I believe the bigger issue that we have here is that we're asking teachers to do things that we should not be asking them to do. I know, like in my school, there were times that we would pay teachers extra stipends to pick up extra classes during their breaks. Extra stipends. I think now in our district, they're paying teachers stipends to man the metal detectors. But yet still they're having trouble getting people to sign up to do it. Because that to me says it's not about the money. It's about the work conditions, the social and emotional pieces. Teachers have a social and emotional component that we need to recognize as well. The burnout rate is unbelievable because of what we're asking people to do and not providing the support always for them to do it.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to cover?
For me, it's about realigning ourselves with making the main thing. Education has always been about children, and helping children to grow, thrive, be their best self, whatever that is.
Right.
And providing all of the resources necessary for them to be successful. I worked in a district when I started that used to have a motto of becoming a premier school district in South Carolina within 5 years. I remember that being one of our goals. It's not been something that we've talked about in recent years. I think a lot of our work has been clouded by the challenges of society. And I'd like to put people in places they need to handle those things so that we can keep the main thing, and that's children and their academic futures, their social and emotional futures, and helping them to grow, continuing growth in our communities. These children have to be prepared for the future ahead in all aspects of life. And I'm not for sure that in today's climate that our focus is on kids. Seems like we shy away from issues that we don't want to discuss.
Yeah.
Because they don't feel good. And I think that goes to this culture of, if we don't like what it says, let's ban it.
Yeah, exactly.
If we don't want to remember that trauma of our past, let's exclude it.
Yeah.
And that's the culture we live in. And we live in a climate where people are celebrating. I remember when the scores came out for our school report cards at our state level as well as our district level. And there were people that were on our school board that was celebrating Horry County Schools for being 6 points above the state average in reading. The state average was 48% of the students in South Carolina that were not reading on a proficient level in the elementary grades. So if we were 6 points better than the state, that still means over 40% of our children are not reading on grade level. So I think we're spinning it so that we can feel better about the hard work that people are doing, when the reality is we need to be saying our teachers work too hard to have this ranking. Let's put people in places to figure out where the disconnect is. Why are teachers working this hard and we're not yielding the results that we would like to see?
Okay. Michelle, do you have a 30-second elevator type speech to tell people why they should vote for you?
I think people should vote for me, number one, because I still have a passion for education. I love every component of it and everything about it, and am committed to making sure that the children of Horry County and in the state of South Carolina have what they need to be successful. I do believe that I have the experience, the background, and the training that will make me the better candidate. I am certain that my opponent is a good person because I have met him, but he's not a trained educator. We need someone on the school board that has the background and the knowledge and the experience to speak for children, to speak for teachers, and to recognize the educational impact on our community. Okay.
With that, I think we can wrap it up. I really appreciate you coming on, Michelle. It was great talking to you, and I learned a lot.
Thank you for having me. And November 5th, I'm expecting everyone to go green.
Okay. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this Lean to the Left video and you found it interesting and informative. Please visit on a regular basis and check out our interviews with guests on topics that focus on progressive politics and the important social issues of our time. Now, our interview shows stream on Mondays with special episodes on Thursdays. And you can check out upcoming shows, guests, and topics at podcast.leantotheleft.net. Subscribe to our audio version there and to our video shows here at YouTube. And follow us on social media. Facebook at Bob Gaddy and the Lean to the Left podcast. Now, it's two. Bob Gaddy is one Facebook page, and the Lean to the Left podcast is a second Facebook page. Twitter at Lean to the Left 1. Instagram at Lean to the Left 1. TikTok at Lean to the Left. LinkedIn at Bob Gaddy. And YouTube at Lean to the Left. Now, I hope you'll support Lean to the Left as well so we can keep things going. Just click on the Donate tab at the top of the leantotheleft.net homepage and contribute by buying me a cup of coffee. That'll really help and would be much, much, much appreciated. Now, this is Bob Gaddy signing off for Lean to the Left. Thanks for sharing your time with us.